No Country for Old Men is a 2007 thriller written for the screen and directed by Joel and Ethan Coen. It was adapted from the novel of the same name by Cormac McCarthy. It follows a retired welder who has discovered drug money, a hitman who wants to take it from him, and a sheriff investigating the drug deal gone wrong. The film is deeply layered with enough influences, themes, and German philosophies to fill a Bible. But for today, the focus shall be on what No Country for Old Men can say about death, retirement, and the inevitability of both. It's the idea that we do not get to make all the choices in our lives, as if part of our existence has been predetermined by fate. Let's begin. One of the most enduring visuals in No Country for Old Men is Javier Bardem as Anton Chigurh, using a flip of a coin to determine life or death for some of his victims. The coin introduces the concept of luck into the story. In the prescriptive use of the word, luck is a supernatural concept determined by the stars or gods that control our fortunes, good luck and bad luck. In the more evolved sense of the word, it only means chance, but still chance that is beyond our control. No choice. Luck is also referenced indirectly in a scene in which Carson Wells, played by Woody Harrelson, tells someone that he counted the floors to a building while outside, but on the inside, one appears to be missing. He seems to genuinely not know what this means. The other character does, and sarcastically says, "We'll look into it." Wells may not have put together that many buildings are built without a 13th floor, because the number 13 is considered unlucky and can bring bad fortune. At the Last Supper in Christian theology, there were 13 guests, 12 apostles plus Jesus, so that number is considered unlucky because Christ was betrayed that day. In a parallel event in Norse theology, 12 gods in their pantheon were gathered in a hall when Loki, the 13th guest, attacked them. There are many other origin stories for this number being unlucky, but some of it has been lost to time. Wells does not recognize the building is missing its 13th floor because he does not believe in luck. He makes his own luck. He never doubts himself or his will to perform his job. He speaks very confidently. Free will. Unconstrained actions that he makes himself. Wells shows this by having complete, unwavering faith in himself that he will best Chigurh. In the end, he does not, which could push the theme of lack of choices further. The point is that these concepts of luck feed into the theme of inevitability. What if we have no choices? What if we only have fate, a predetermined sequence of events for our lives put together without our consent, without our choice? Sheriff Ed Tom Bell, reading the newspaper full of terrible stories about murder and torture, looks across the table at a deputy who chortles a little about what the sheriff says. The sheriff dismisses it, saying there isn't much you can do except laugh. Nothing to be done. No choices. Everything is set. No Country for Old Men is not espousing the idea of literal fate, though. It's not a magical film, that needs to be clear. The notions of fate, luck, and our lack of choices fit more neatly with this picture's focus on the very real eventualities of our lives. The supernatural concepts of fate and luck only serve to bolster the claim about our missing choices, showing them as absolutes. Anton Chigurh might be Wells' opposite. He is entrenched, inescapably, in the belief that his life is what it is and cannot be changed. A coin's outcome is luck, not the supernatural sense, but the practical sense of chance. In the end, Chigurh says he must flip the coin to determine if a young woman must die. When she protests that he does not have to do this, he says, "I got here the same way the coin did." He likens himself to something of chance and luck. He's a part of a force of nature, not a man with free will. Chigurh does not think much of people as agents of their own wills. He uses an air gun as his trademark weapon. It's a slaughterhouse tool used to kill cattle. Perhaps to him, a person has as much worth as an animal. He says, "Hold still," while doing this in one scene. And in another scene, Llewellyn Moss, played by Josh Brolin, says the same thing while hunting. The implication is that to Llewellyn, a man has worth, but an animal less so. Animals have fewer options than man. To Chigurh, a man cannot have worth if they do not have choices. Since he believes more in luck than choice, man is the same as a beast. To Chigurh, this unfeeling philosophy, this detachment from humanity, protects him. As the film comes to a close, Chigurh is suddenly struck by another car, wounding him greatly. His bone is sticking out of his arm. This shows his twisted principle is no real defense for himself, or that random chance can catch up to him too. About the aforementioned eventualities in our lives, these include growing old, retiring, and dying. Characters are frequently harmed in the picture, particularly Llewellyn and Anton Chigurh. They patch themselves up, but it only delays the inevitable. Bell, though unhappy with it, is more accepting of this, saying that a sheriff needs to accept the possibility of dying just to perform his job. People, often, don't like to think about their own deaths. Shigur, immediately before shooting and killing Wells, tells him that before this happens, he should admit to the situation he's in, because it would be more dignified. Instead, Wells quickly goes through as many Kubler-Ross stages of grief, mourning for himself, as he can within the span of a minute. He is in denial about what is happening, he bargains with Shigur, and when he says, "go to hell," only then does he reach acceptance. In general, humankind does not want to think about its own mortality. The one thing we can never change, the one guaranteed inevitability, the one in which there is no choice. Towards the end of the film, Bell's uncle tells him, "Can't stop what's coming. It ain't all waiting on you. That's vanity." And there is some truth to that. Free will may exist, but there are still some things we cannot control and cannot stop. Sheriff Bell is growing old. He says he's going to retire. We all grow old someday, and typically we consider retirement when we are no longer of any use. Bell says he is, in his own words, overmatched and needs to step away. When the uncle says, "that's vanity," he means that aging is not something that pursues one man. Instead, it follows everyone. Retirement comes up a lot. In addition to Bell facing retirement, Llewellyn Moss is said to be a retired welder, and Carson Wells is a retired Army colonel. No Country for Old Men shows us the inexorable facts about what is coming if we live long enough to grow old. Some say Shigur is seen as the Grim Reaper in this film, the personification of death, but it may be more accurate to say that concept, as well as that of aging and fate, can be seen in each of the main characters. While No Country for Old Men may seem pessimistic, something should be noted. There can be a dignity in growing old, and there is certainly retirement for one's leisure, but that is not the part that the film wants us to see. Death is mandatory for life, but there is still meaning in what we do, even if it is temporary. All that can be done to make a life worthwhile is to make tiny changes to the world while we are here. Sooner rather than later, as the last scene of the film shows, it can all end suddenly.